Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. I want to make sure I give everybody enough time to get in here, but we will get started in the next 1 to 2 minutes. Perfect. About 1 more minute. I do want to respect everyone's time. I also do want to let anyone in who wanted to join the session as well.
You want to turn it on? It's okay.
I don't know how to do. Maybe if you click it. Now start video. No stops. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the time is 12:02. I'm going to go ahead and get started with respect to all of you that are here and on time. So first, great afternoon. My name is Julian King. I am one of the instructional consultants here at the C.A.L department, C.A.L Center for the Advancement of Learning, for anybody that may not know. And my specific focus is more on instructional design and learning design. I happen to facilitate the CDFLC course as well that will be starting next week. But I know most of you here today have came to kind of dive deeper into this gradebook. I know the new Ultra gradebook is a bit different from what most people are used to in the 901, but hopefully after today's session, I help clarify some misconceptions or any difficulties you may have been having going forward using this Ultra gradebook. So our objectives for today's session, after completing this workshop, you will be able to grade an assignment with a rubric or embed feedback. You'll be able to modify the weighted total column in the gradebook. You'll be able to access student work from the activity stream. You'll be able to insert a recording in your grade feedback and also generate course reports and review course analytics. So I'll give you a quick overview of our agenda for today. And mind you, this session is being recorded, so we will send this out as well. So please feel free if you miss anything, just know you will get this in the recording. Our agenda for today. So I want to kind of go through a brief overview of what the grading options are via PowerPoint. And then we're going to take an actual walkthrough through the Ultra Gradebook and some of the features it has for us. And then if time permits, which I hope it does, I'll be here to answer Q&A. And I also will have Fatma and David working with me on our Q&A sessions as well. So moving forward, we're going to go straight into a brief overview of the grading options that Blackboard Ultra provides us. It gives us 3 types of grading options. It gives us item weights, it gives us category weights, and it also provides us a total grade. Like I said, this will just be a brief overview, and we'll walk through each one and what that looks like when you're setting up your grade books in Ultra. So our first specific view, this is item weight. When you're talking about your item weight, this allows your gradebook to measure each assignment based on a certain percentage. So for faculty that have a minimal amount of assignments and assessments, this would be an ideal way of setting up your gradebook, especially for those who may only have 3 assessments and say, hey, I want each of my assessments to be worth 20, 20, and 25 based on the final. And then the assignments can filter in at 5 and 4% based on that. That will be an ideal way of setting up your gradebook. And like I said, this is for classes that may have a minimal amount of assignments and assessment, because you don't want to have 30 assignments and want to try to figure out an overall grade percentage for each specific item when you have a high number of assignments and assessments. And this specifically is if you're talking item weight. So following item weight, we move on to category weight. Now, this one bases your gradebook based on specific categories that you set up early on through the semester. This can be anything from assignments, tests, homework, discussions, participation, however you want the category set up, and it's based on your syllabus. Each of us have our own syllabus that we construct our grades from. Most of the professors I work with have a syllabus that are based on categories. That, hey, your exams will be 30%, your assignments may be 20%, so on and so forth. This would be a great way of setting up your course based on that type of syllabus, and based on if you categorize a lot of your assignments. Now, with the rule with all calculation details, obviously it has to equal up to 100%, and I know mine doesn't right here, but for screenshot purposes, this is a great way based on your syllabus. And for those that have a lot of assignments, I would always say work with your overall grade. I think it works better, and it gives you an easier outcome when it comes to setting up your grade. And it's clear to faculty and students. And that's what you want. You want that clarity when you're providing students their grade and how they got to the assigned grade that they achieved. So moving on a bit from item weight and category weight, we have our last grading option, which looks like total grade. And I've met a lot of professors that do this as well. And this is essentially when you can get a student's grade by adding up the total of whether it's categories or coursework. So if you see in the image, you have the option of doing a total based on all the categories you assigned, or based on all of the coursework you've assigned altogether. And it has different functions. As you see to the left, you have an average. You can set it up to generate an average between all of the grades. You can do your total, which is just your total amount of points. And this is for professors that say, hey, in this course, you'll earn 1,400 points. And 1,400 points is an A. Well, total is a great way to assess that, because it allows it to add up all of those points they may have earned throughout the duration of the semester and add it all up for a grade. And it also has the functions of minimum and maximum, which either can add all the minimum grades and generate a grade based on that, or if you're saying, hey, all of my assignments have multiple attempts, I want to take the highest grade from every single attempt that they've done, you also have that maximum option as well. Now, these are our 4 general and our 4 basic methods that come in total grading. They have more diverse and intricate functions we can use, but if you want to get there, I would definitely recommend putting in for a consultation request, because that will definitely take a lot of time. And once again, this is being recorded, so you will get all of this information, because I know it probably is a lot to digest right now. So moving on into that, we're going to have time to explore firsthand. And I'm going to walk you through each one of those grading options and what that looks like setting it up in your Blackboard Ultra. Hello to everybody that has now joined. It is good to see some of your names and wonderful faces. So, so first, before I jump right into our Ultra piece, does anybody have any questions? Please feel free to add questions in the chat. I know my colleagues David Cerna and Fatma, they are both watching the chat, so if anything comes up that I miss, they will be the ones to inform me. So I'll go ahead and navigate my way to my courses. For this specific demonstration, I'm going to use my Ultra Sandbox, just because I don't want to affect nothing else. So when we're talking about setting up our gradebook, and I'll start with our gradebook first and setting that up, and then I'll get into a couple different other functions, such as the activity stream and the feedback. But I definitely want to start with the setting up your gradebook. So when you set up your gradebook, most people for the first time, when you see overall grade, it normally had a button at the bottom that said set it up. That's what most of you would have saw when you're first setting up your gradebook. My overall grade, I've kind of played with it a bit and set it up. But when you go to it and when you click set it up, it will take you to a screen. It looks like this when you're talking about specific calculation details. And this is where you can set up that item weight or category weight. So for those professors who specifically are thinking categories, and I already have my assignments, I've already categorized them based on assignment, test, and homework. This is a very easy function and a very easy way to set up your gradebook. Now, I do want to make it very clear. You cannot set up a category weighted gradebook until each assignment has been assigned a category. Mr. King, what does that mean? I will go into a bit more detail about that, because I want to make sure I make that abundantly clear. Because I notice professors will sign on and they're like, well, none of my categories are showing up. When you set up an example, let's start with this example here. When you set up an assignment, it always will ask you, what is your grade category? And your grade category can be anything. You can even add your own grade categories. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But you always want to assign any assignment, assessment, you want to give it a category, if this is the type of grading you want to use. If it does not have an assigned category, it will not display in your gradebook. So in my gradebook, we only saw assignment, test, and homework because those are the only categories I assigned. If I want to include exam in my gradebook, I want to make sure that the grade category for the specific assignment matches that. And then we want to make sure that I have every grade category assigned so that I can use it when I set up my gradebook. And I'm moving your pictures over if you wonder why I got to keep sliding things over. So that when I make it to my gradebook, I want to be able to see those specific categories. Well, hey, Mr. King, what if there's a category there that I don't see and I want to add it? Well, we always have this settings cog in our grade book. If you ever see a category or based on your syllabi, you want to add a category, you have that option here in your gradebook settings. This gradebook settings follows your days of activity, based when students will receive alerts about grading based on days of inactivity. This is set up for 5, saying that if students don't log on and enter the class for 5 days, you'll receive an alert that, hey, so this student A has not logged into class. This is also your function for your automatic zeros, whether you want to assign automatic zeros for past due work or whether you don't want to assign. Now, here is a special part for automatic zeros. If right now your class, you have automatic zeros assigned for class, if you ever chose to unclick it, it will give you an option to either clear all automatic zeros and allow students to, and allow their grades to be manipulated based on that, or it allows you to keep all the zeros that are already in and going forward will no longer assign automatic zeros. You have that option. Me personally, as a learning design, I would say keep your automatic zeros on because you want to give students notification that, hey, you're missing this assignment, and it will display red in their gradebook. We want to give them as many opportunities as possible to know that, hey, this assignment has not been turned in. I need you to work on this. And based on these categories we talked about, you can add any category you want. Any type of category you feel you may need, it can be added. As a math guy, a category we always use is application. And I spelled that wrong. Please do not take points off. I'm a math major. But you can add any specific category you want so that when you assign it, you can assign it to specific categories based on that syllabi that you've created. If you don't need a category no more, you can also delete it. You have a lot of autonomy there. And following your rubrics. Different courses have different rubrics that you use based on different assignments. If you ever feel the need to want to create a rubric, or if you've uploaded a rubric from one of your past courses in course conversion, all of that will be located here. Any rubric that you've uploaded, you can always duplicate, you can always click on it and edit it. You have that autonomy as well. And I'll show you later on when I focus on one of the assignments, what that looks like when you're grading an assignment with a rubric attached to it. But now that we've kind of talked about what that looks like as far as adding a category, making sure it's assigned to an assignment, we'll go back to that overall grade and go back to those category weights. So now you can see what I'm talking about. So you see that in the last assignment, I assigned that category to be an exam. You see now it automatically populates in my gradebook. Before you didn't see it because the assignment was not attached to that category. Now that I've attached an assignment to the category, it automatically populates in my gradebook. And now I can figure out what I would like my percentages to be for that. And mind you, it always has to equal to 100. It will not allow you to save. It will not allow you to save if it does not equal to 100. If you notice the save button doesn't even come up because this does not equal to 100. So for argument's sake, I owe 10. I'll add the last 10%. Once all of my categories are aligned and they equal to 100, you notice the save button automatically populated, meaning that now I can save my gradebook as this. And now based on that, now my gradebook is set up based on categories. Now, if you have any questions about this specifically, or any questions focusing on add rule, please fill out a consultation request for any of these, for this deeper gradebook setting. But for the overall categories, this is how your gradebook should look if you want to set it up based on category weight. And you also have the option to display this grade in letter or percentage, which you have for item weight as well. I always say letter. Letter is very straightforward, but your class, your autonomy, and how you want to show students their grade is up to you. I do recommend that you do show to students. We want students to know their progress throughout all of the courses. You have the option of hiding it, but I don't truly see the benefit of hiding it. Even for certain assignments, you can hide the grade for those assignments within the gradebook so that there's no need to hide their overall grade. And anytime you change any settings, you always have to save it. That's a good feature in Blackboard Ultra. All right, perfect. So I don't see anything in the chat. Chat looks good. So that's this function of grading. And I wanted to make sure I got this out the way. This is what our categories look like. Now I'm going to move on to item weight. And item weight is for those courses that may have a minimal amount of assignments and assessments. You do not want to do item weight if you have 30 assignments. You'll drive yourself crazy. It's a lot of work. And we're trying to work smarter, not harder. So I'll shift this over now. So it gives you the option. Select how the overall grade is calculated. I want to shift this to gradebook item weights so we can see what this looks like. So if you see now, the computer will automatically populate percentages for this that will equal up to 100. And it's your job to manipulate these percentages based on how you want your gradebook set up. Yet alone, it always has to equal 100. So you may want your exams to equal more. You may want your assignments to equal less. You may want to exempt an assignment. Now, and this function comes as well. You can choose to exempt an assignment when you're setting up this overall gradebook. Your exempt assignment would be the stop button right here. And you can exempt it from your overall grade. Now, you notice once it's exempted, I still have to make sure my math equals up to 100. All it did was subtract the 9% from my total, from my overall total. So now I still have to make sure that I replace it within the gradebook. Also, for an exempt, that is the overall assignment. So you're not exempting a student from it, you're exempting the entire course from it. So this assignment will no longer appear in any student's grade. And if it does appear, it will no longer count towards their overall grade. So we are working for that on specific student exemptions. But if you want to exempt the entire assignment, this would be how you would go about that. And that is for the entire course, not for any specific student. But once you have came to your percentages for each of your assignments and you have changed it to what you may want it to look like, you fix it the way you would like, you can go ahead and click save. Remember, mind you, this save button will not appear if it does not equal 100. Well, ours is grayed out. You notice it will not let me click on it if I am not at a total of 100%. And I've had instructors ask me, well, it will not let me save. That means somewhere in your math, you're not equaling up to 100%. And it will always give you that indicator at the bottom. And once I'm done setting this part up, I can go ahead and click save. Once again, it still allows you the function of how you want to display that grade, whether it's letter or percentage, and whether you want to show your students or not. So based on that, that is our first set. Those are our first two options of gradebook grading. You have your item weight and you have your category weight. If you have any questions based on those specific grading options. We will take them now in the chat. My colleague David Cerna and Fatma, they will be navigating those questions for me. So if you have anything specific to those, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I even have about 7 minutes if anybody wants to raise their hand virtually and speak on any of those specific options. Go ahead, Professor Elmira. I'm sorry.
Yes. How do you reorder the items in the grade book?
You want to reorder them?
Yes. For instance, if I want to see new assignment above new item, how do
above
I
order assignment.
Uh-huh.
So you have that option. So based on your grade book, you have the option to move assignments around based on how you want to see them. And I'm sorry, I did not mention this earlier. As far as the view, so we have 2 different views for gradebook. First, I'll get to your question, then I'll focus on the view. If I wanted to move assignments, it's the same function as moving course content around on your page. Each assignment in this specific view has the option to be moved. And you can move it wherever you would like to. It's still the same functions. So many clicks. But that's still that same function of being able to move an assignment wherever you would like it to go. Now, the gradebook has not necessarily updated to the point where all of your new assignments show first. I know that's something that our Blackboard representative is also working on, some of these updates. So I will get more to you about that as we hear more about that. But the easiest way right now would be sliding content or sliding assignments up and down, similar to how you would do setting up your course. Professor Kelsey.
Yes, I would like, thank you. And hello to everybody. I would like to know, because I'm in my grade book, I'm working with it, but I didn't know how to set up because I didn't know what to do because it's so different to me from the other Blackboard. So I set everything at 100%, but everything isn't 100%. Because what I used to do was already calculate like this is 25 points, this is 15 points or whatever. But I didn't know how to do that. So I just set everything at 100 so I cease being confused. But I would but I want to know in the category, can I now go back to those boxes and set it and it would recalculate itself in the grade book as it is now?
Absolutely. So, and I'll go navigate there real quickly for you. So, setting everything at 100 that's why it necessarily may not have worked. Just based on the total has to equal 100. So maybe one. So when you're looking at your category, it would only allow maybe one of these folders to equal 100, and everything else would be 0. Now that you probably have had a chance to kind of reassign certain assignments to fit the categories based on your syllabi and how you want to grade, you should be able to go back in there now and to manipulate the overall percentage.
Okay, all
So you
right.
should be able
'Cause
to
I
go
only,
back now. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that's great because now I have assignment, test, and discussion board. Those are the 3 things that I have in my modules. Okay, because the modules there are modules and they're divided by weeks, and there are, how do I say, 2 weeks in each module. So I have 16, but they're divided into 8. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
so now then I can go back in and reset. But do I reset each module? Just this is the whole grade book is the question.
This will be the whole grade book.
The
So
whole
when
grade
you
book. Cool.
redo this, you'll notice a lot of the grades may change based on how it was set up early on. But as
Uh-huh.
long as they are accurate with how you presented your syllabus and how you presented the students, that's fine.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah, so
Thank
you
you.
can always go back and if you ever realize you did it wrong or something doesn't add up for you, you're always welcome. You're always able to go back and change your grading scale to however you see fit.
Mm. Okay,
and,
thank
and
you.
just make sure you save it. And remember, it won't, if it doesn't equal 100, it won't even allow you to save. So that you
Right.
always have that indicator if it doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Because the fall, what's semester? Fall. I've been teaching all year long. So second half of the summer, I found that the grades were recalculating on their own. I said, oh, well, I just went with it. You know,
I get it. I've had a lot of these calls, and I get that the gradebook has provided some difficulties, but we're gonna work through all of those. So thank you for that question, by the way.
thank you. Okay.
So as we look at our grade book, before I get to total grading, I would be remiss if I did not mention that a lot of professors love the 901 view of the grade book because it allows you to see all of the students' work and all of the assignments at one time. And that this grade view may not necessarily be conducive to how you want to grade and just your best format for it. So if you come over here to your icons, you have the ability to show a list view and you have the ability to show a grid view. So when you click on the grid view, this will allow you to see the grade book. Don't mind Fatma's picture right there. She's doing well in my class. This will allow you to see the grade book in more of a fashion that fits 901. And I know that was very big for a lot of professors. So, I only have two people. So, but for a bigger class, you can obviously see it will be a lot more descriptive. But this allows you to navigate through all of the grades and see who has what, where their grade book at. You have the option of searching specific students or specific assignments. I can look myself up and only look up my grade if I wanted to. You also have your filters. So for some of you to have merged courses, you have the option of when you go to your filter, you have the option of selecting one class or whether I want both my classes to display. Hey, I only want these categories to display. So if I go ahead and pick assignment, I can filter it where only my assignments show based on those categories. The filter is very, very cool. And I would be remiss if I did not mention it. And especially for those that have those merged courses, I know grading can be sometimes hectic. You're switching back and forth between courses. The filter will allow for you to see both classes. Obviously, I don't have a filter. I don't have a class filtered right now, a class merged right now, so it doesn't show in my view, but it will show for yours. And if it's something you want to dive a little more deeply into about how to use that function to kind of help you save time on grading, like I said, please fill out consultation requests. And I will definitely be able to sit with you one-on-one and work through that. And even for some of you that may be wondering why are icons red, because I had that question early on in the gradebook. Well, why does this icon show as red? Well, that's because it has automatic 0 there. So if you're ever wondering, like, well, my gradebook, I see some red icons, but I thought I graded everything. So that means somebody in that specific assignment category has received the automatic 0, and they need to correct that. And when students see their grades as well, when they see their view, they'll see an assignment that is red. And that's why I say keep it on, because you want to notify them, hey, you haven't completed this assignment. I need you to finish that. And as you see, your overall grade will show right here for students in letter format, because that is what we chose. Now, moving through that, I want to get to total grade, because I know that's also another feature that a lot of instructors use. So easily to add a total grade, and for any of your grade books, you may be looking now and wondering, why don't I see total grade? Total grade is a calculation that we have to add to the grade book. It does not automatically come within it. But to add that, just like to add anything in our new Ultra, we find one of our plus signs. For this view, it's in between every assignment. If I went to my gradable item view, it's in between every assignment. So you can find it anywhere. I'll go ahead and click that plus, and I want to click add calculation. So you'll get an opportunity to name this calculation. For me, I will just go ahead and name it total grade. And I do see your questions in the chat. Let me get through this total grade portion, and then I will circle back to answer that question, Mr. Donaldson, and it looked like Professor Hamlin as well. I'll get to that in 1 second. But thank you for those questions. So as we get to total grade, and I go ahead and name it, it allows you to select your grade schema, whether it's points, percentage, or letter. If we're doing total points, which most syllabi are saying you have to earn a total of 1,400 points to get an A, we'll stick with points for this matter. You go ahead, you can type a description here. I don't feel the need to, but please feel free to type a description if you need one for your own reflective purposes. So we talked about these 4 functions. These are our most easily accessible functions. You have maximum, which selects the maximum grade for each category you may select under it. Minimum selects the minimum grade. Your average, that averages grades based on what you're choosing, and your total grade, which kind of adds up all the points. For this specific demonstration, we're going to work with total grade. So what I can do, and you'll see the arrows to it, you click on it, it appears. I'll do that again just for anybody that may have saw it. I click on total, and it automatically appears in my gradebook. Can you pick more? Yes, you can pick as many as you want, honestly. But we don't want to confuse you there. That dives a little bit deeper. Right, for this specific purpose, we just want to select total. So when you select total, you'll have the option to click in this arrow for a drop-down menu. When we're looking at total, we talked about earlier that we can find the total of our categories, or we can find the total of specific assignments. If you're saying that your grade, and based on your syllabus and how you want to grade your course, if you're saying your course has a chance, each student has a chance to earn up to 1,500 points to receive an A, you would want to do your coursework over your categories. I haven't found a best practice use of why you would get a total of categories, unless your grading scheme is a bit different and you want to be very intentional with your data, knowing the total of specific tests, data of specific assignments, data of specific attendance in their own separate category. So that's kind of driven by you as the instructor. But once again, that is more of a deeper autonomy that we necessarily won't cover in this session, but we can cover in the consultation. But either way, so as I scroll down this drop-down menu, I can select all the courses I want to be added in this coursework. And this saves you a bit of work because now you don't have to exempt certain courses in total. If you don't want it to be added within their grade, you just don't have to select it. For my class, maybe all of my students did horribly on my new item, or maybe it was more of a pre-assessment. Maybe I wanted to see what they knew before we dived into our unit. So I may not include that in the total grade. I may just use that for my own data purposes. But I'll select however many assignments or whichever assignments I want to include in their total grade, and then I'll press save. And if you see here, you see my top, you'll see your total grade and all of the assignments that are included within that total grade. Now, here's your disclaimer. If you add a new assignment after setting up your total gradebook, you have to also include you have to come back to your total grade and remark that assignment or mark that assignment for the first time. I'm gonna say that again because I kind of messed that up with my words. If you create a new assignment after you set up your total grade, you have to go back into your total grade and mark that new assignment or it will not count. Ultra is not as intuitive as we would like just yet, but it is getting there. And because of that, it does not automatically include it in your total grade. You have to go back and make sure it's included in your total grade. So you may look at your grade and like, hey, well, I only have 800 points, but they have 14 assignments. You want to come back to this total grade and click your drop-down menu and make sure that any new assignments you have added, you've also added that total grade in there as well. You've also added that to your total grade as well. And make sure to always save your work. So that's straightforward enough. So once that is saved, my total grade is set up. So now I want to see, what does that look like in my grade book? So if you notice, my total grade now appears. So let's go ahead and see what that can look like. So if I go ahead and click on total grade, and for those that missed it, I'll go ahead and do that one more time. If I go ahead and click on total grade, now my grades come up as points. Now I know where the question is about to lie. Well, hey, why does one user have 380 points versus another user that has 100 points? Well, that's because when you're doing total grade, it's only adding up the grades for things that have been posted and graded. So if this student, Train 14, has not done all of the assignments, all of the points won't add up. Or if I have not posted a grade for that student, all of the points will not add up. So when we're talking about posting a grade, we're talking about, have I put in the zeros or allow that student to redo it and graded their new attempt. This student up top has done the assignments, so that's why all the max points have been added up. So that's one thing you definitely want to take into consideration when you're looking at student total grades. Now I'll take the opportunity to show this from a different view. So specifically more what we talked about, there are 6 ungraded assignments, 9 ungraded assignments out of 795 points. So we're wondering, hey, why is this user have more points than other? Because there are a lot of assignments that have not been graded yet. And you have the option to show students this grade as well. It is really all up to you. You always have the option to go back and edit that grade or delete it or redo it, however you see fit for your gradebook. So with that, I think that was it for my total grade. I had to make sure I had to do a rewind in my mind real quick. So do I have any questions based on that total grade? And then I can go ahead and answer the few questions I saw in the chat a second ago. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer Mr. Donaldson's question. So you talked about, can a professor put a higher grade for late work? So instead of, when you talk about the automatic zero function, instead of it being automatic zero, hey, could the student get a 55 if it's late work? Right now, it does not have that function for late work to automatically accrue a specific grade. It would be for the instructor to go back and change those grades manually for that. Yeah, I think that's our only answer for that as of right now. But that is a good question, and we can send that to our Blackboard representative. So that's something they may be able to look into when they do the next set of Blackboard Ultra updates. Because I can see how getting automatic zeros can be very deflating for a student, and how it can also cause a lot of confusion for an instructor. So we can minimize that to having a late grade of a 50 or 55, like we do in high school and middle school, and allow them to resubmit and get a higher grade. I can see the benefits of that, but right now it does not have that feature. But we can definitely move that forward to concerning parties so they can look into that for the next update. So thank you for that. Also, I saw another question. I think that was Professor Hamlin. Will my math lab grades automatically go to different categories? Specifically for my math lab, I will have to get with you one-on-one about that, because the way that hits the grade book is a lot different, and that requires a different type of conversation. So I do see your question, Professor Hamlin. I will email you after the session, and we can go a little deeper into my my math lab grades and what that looks like when you're setting up your gradebook versus our general grading options. So as we move on, I think there's no questions about total overall. I hope that has helped you with setting up your gradebook, at least a bit more than you may have needed early on. I do want to cover this. I do want to cover the stream and embedding your feedback with the remaining time I have left. So first, I've already created my own example assignment. You'll see it here, specifically GradeWiz example. And we're wondering, so as an instructor, how do I know if a student has submitted my work without directly going into my course? So if you leave out, when you look at your activity stream, those things always come up. So you have your upcoming activities and then things that happen today. And if you look at things that happen today, you'll see in my sandbox, I have a new submission for that specific assignment. So you can use this for more than just your own deadlines. When students submit new work, it'll easily come up in your gradebook stream for things that have come up today or whenever they may have done it. If I want to go directly there, I can go ahead and just click on that. And it takes me right to my submission page. So I see I have one attempt. I'll go ahead and click on this one attempt. Now, for specific grading purposes, I added a rubric to this assignment. So you have multiple ways of providing your feedback. If I wanted to provide feedback for students, I'm provided this box. But as you see, it's similar to our text box that we use in Ultra when we're creating content or documents. With that, it allows you to add a link. So maybe you created a video on a separate platform or a video that may assist in the completion of this assignment. You're able to add that link for students as well. Say, hey, Mr. King, I want to create my own video and give them verbal feedback versus typing something up. And based on design, I would always choose verbal recording feedback. I think it helps with your learner interaction, your learner engagement, and buy-in, because students can really hear your tone of when you're providing feedback and how these things can help boost their assignment or assessment. But either way, so you have the ability to do an attachment if you've created your own video on your own computer based on your own software, or Blackboard Ultra has the ability where if I click recording, and I don't know if it'll let me access my camera while I have it now, but you see it'll allow me to record. And you see it says ready to record, gives me my record button, and I can enable my video. And that will allow me to create my own recording right now that I can make to provide feedback to a student and attach it to their assignment submission. So when they go back and look at this assignment and they look at the feedback, they'll be able to press play and see this video that I'm giving them on how they can better their work. And once again, this function is right here under feedback for student. You'll click insert content, and that allows you to insert your attachment, image, any media URL that you may need, or to go ahead and create your own recording to provide feedback for students. And like I said, that best practice, I would definitely do the recording. And I think ultimately as instructors, it will save you a lot of time, because typing up feedback is very strenuous, and it takes a lot of work to type up 30 students' feedback for one assignment versus creating a quick recording with some notes you may have jotted down that may be just as impactful for the student. And there's certain things that you can say to students that probably will take longer to type versus being able to record a quick 30-second video and provide constructive and intentional feedback. So also to add on to the same assignment, when you talk about grading with your rubrics, so earlier we showed where your rubrics are, how to create, where to press to create a new rubric, or where you would find any rubrics from any course conversions you may have done. When you're grading with a rubric, this rubric block will automatically appear when you're grading an assignment. Excuse me. So if I want to now grade with this rubric, I'll go ahead and click on my arrow. Now each rubric category is displayed. Narrative is 20% of their grade. Physiological changes, obviously, you know, this was not, I created this rubric, but I have edited it for the purpose of this session. Questions, nursing actions, I don't know anything about nursing, so please don't ask me. And APA format. So these are my 5 categories for rubric. Each of them have a weighted percentage of what they are to the grade. And when I press my arrow, I easily can pick which category fits best. Now, if you're wondering why it's 2016, I think 1412, because the way the grading rubric, I changed the grading rubric was to 100 points, 80 points, 70 points, 60 points. So it minimized this in intervals of 5. 20 times 5 is 100, 16 times 5. You can use your calculator and figure out the rest. But it minimized it to intervals of 5 as far as which one I can select. It still has the same grading weight, just a bit easier to go through. So this allows you to click whichever one you see. This section may be very good. And it allows you to add the feedback for that specific criterion. So if I pick very good or adequately, and I see your question, Mr. Donaldson, I will get to that in a second. If I click very good, I allow to add feedback on why that specific topic was very good. And I can go through the entire grade book, the entire rubric, excuse me, go through the entire rubric, add feedback on each specific column. And this is my rubrics already attached. I'm just clicking with which one makes sense and adding feedback based on need. Now, this criterion feedback, as you notice, the text box does not come up. So this has to be typed feedback. You cannot add a recording for rubric feedback based on criterions. That would be very cool, but I'll add that as well. But right now, all criterion rubric feedback has to be typed up. But once I've done and I've selected all of the categories I would like, you notice it automatically pops into our submission. You notice this my message right here, your change is automatically saved. So grading with a rubric, it automatically saves the grade. I don't have to worry about saving it. I will still probably have to post it, but I don't have to worry about necessarily saving the grade. So you don't have to worry that, oh, I forgot what I gave him in this category. I got to do it again. It automatically saves. And when I want to get out of the rubric, I'll go ahead and press that back arrow. And you notice my grade remains the same. This icon beside it says that this assignment was graded based on a rubric. And students will be able to see that as well when they're looking at their grade. And once you add your feedback, your video feedback for your students, always press save. It's always just a force of habit. So when I exit out of this grade submission, you'll see that this grade has been posted. This grade is here and that 88. I can post whenever I'm ready. And this is for those instructors why I talk about not having to hide a grade. Because I know certain assignments, you're like, hey, I don't want the whole class to see what they got, or I don't want specific students to see that they got an A. Other students will attract to that, try to copy any form of that nature. Well, luckily with Ultra, your grades do not automatically appear. They have to be posted. So I can grade our entire class's written assignment based on the rubric. And when I'm ready to post grades, I can just come up here and click post all grades. Or if it's a specific student, I want them to see their grade, I can click post. So I'll take a quick 1 minute break. I want to see this question. the question bank. I'll get with you, Ms. Thompson, specifically for that, because that will take a lot more time than I think we have right now. But I know David is also collecting these questions. I will message you one-on-one. We'll set up a time for that. But yeah, so that is how we grade using our rubric. Now, I wanted to show you this last piece. I have 5 to 6 minutes, and I still wanted to have any Q&As for any last minute questions or anything that I can set up meetings for going forward. And I'll show you this in our CDFLC course. So when we talk about the analytics of your course, it definitely provides us a better outlook of our data. So for courses that have, once you've done your assessments and different assignments like that through Blackboard Ultra, you'll be able to run a report on overall performance, assessment quality, how students did on individual questions. And this is great when you talk about refining some of your courses, some of your content going into the next semester, or even going into the next unit. In your Blackboard, you'll come to your course, and you'll come to analytics, and you'll see question analysis. And you'll be able to, hey, for this test, I want to see how all the students did on question 3. Is that something that I may need to revisit before we move on to the next unit? And you can come over here and just click run report. Now, if you notice, the big thing about that report, the reports expire after 14 days. So if you run a report, and the report may take a little less than 10 minutes to fully run, depending on how big and how dense the class is. But you definitely want to make sure you come back and download that information when it is ready. This course is a bit older, so the reports may take a lot longer or may not be sufficient. But for your current courses, you're able to come over here and specifically run a report. And that's what we're talking about when we want to look at our data based on our assessments and different things of that nature, to know, are we creating meaningful, intentional, and aligned assessments based on our course objectives and our module objectives. And scoring reports, we're not even going to cover that today, but that is something that we are, as a C.A.L team, going to go into a little bit deeper into the semester and create a webinar for that as well. But that just wouldn't be appropriate for this specific session. So with that being said, I think I've covered everything in my objectives. I want to use this last 3 to 4 minutes, or even longer, because I can stay on for a little bit longer if you need, for any Q&As, any questions you may have, any concerns. If you picked up something in this that you can use going forward, I would appreciate it. So I'll stop talking and open up the floor to anybody that may have any questions or any things they may want to add. And feel free, you don't have to, but I do just want to open up the space.
I think Kelsey has her hand raised, Julian.
Professor Kelsey, do you have a new question, or is that the hand raised from the first time? I think the hand raise was from the first question that I went to Professor Kelsey. I don't know if you ever lowered the hand.
Gotcha.
But that is fine.
Or Nelda Ormond.
Oh, Professor Ormond, yes.
Yes, hi. This has been very helpful. I was a few minutes late because I had problems finding the link, but it's okay, I got in. That kind of answers my question, because I had put under the category of assignments 3 different things, which was critical thinking, discussion, and listening. So now I can go back and add those distinctive categories the way you showed us. So I have to do that. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
Absolutely. And I worked with you when we helped do some of your course conversion. So if there's anything in that you need additional help, you know how to email me. You know how to reach me. I am more than happy to sit down and figure the rest of that out with you.
Thank you.
That goes for no problem at all. And I was gonna say that goes for anybody in the meeting. If there's anything you just want some additional clarification on, I know David has put my information in the chat. Please reach out, set up a consultation request, email me, and I can set up the instructions for you to meet with me, and we can work through any difficulties that you have. Here at the C.A.L department, we are here to support the instructors, and that is our duties and our jobs, to support you all. So as we're reaching 12:59, if you don't have any more questions, I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Once again, this is recorded, so we will be sending this out to all participants. So you should look for this no later than Friday. And David put in our chat, our next session will be about hypothesis, and that is on October 6th. Same time, 12 to 1. And he also put the link for you to register if you want to if you want to learn how to integrate hypothesis more into your instruction and how it's best used in Blackboard. Please register for that as well. And with that being said, I hope you all have a great Wednesday. Have a great week all together. And I look forward to hearing from all of you, most of you, hopefully within the next couple of days. And thank you all for your attendance.
Bye-bye.
Because it is Wednesday and I get it.
Thank you so much, Julian.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stop recording now.